seem to see from the outbreak in China, where most of the patients have been so far, that the older you are, the more likely you are to develop severe complications. So the other thing that we observe now is that there's a very wide range of severity, ranging from you not even knowing you have coronavirus. So you can catch corona and have no symptoms. You can catch corona and be mildly ill. You can catch corona and be moderately sick. And you can also catch it and become very ill, requiring sophisticated management with ventilation and supportive care like kidney dialysis and stuff like that. So it's really an interaction between the virus and the patient, and everybody is different. So some people have a natural resistance to it, and some people are vulnerable. But by and large, we find that the younger you are, the more able you are to withstand the infection and not develop complications and die. The older you are, probably over 60, the more likely you are to develop some complications. Or if you have what we call comorbid conditions, so you're sick with something else, maybe you have severe diabetes, or you have HIV, or you have tuberculosis, or you have some other condition that somewhat reduces your ability to fight and have a strong immunity.
Yes, indeed. That's what we'll start with this morning, and updates on the coronavirus situation in the country. Let's head to Abuja. Makwe.
Yes, we're getting the update from the very top. We have with us this morning Dr. Lauren Imbe Mamora, who is the Minister of State for Health. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, where can you say we are concerning the state of the disease in terms of the number of people whom we have been able to trace? We know that we have a confirmed case in Lagos. People have been concerned about contact tracing. From what we gather, I think about 38 people now have been contacted in Lagos and Ogun State. But then we also hear of a case, or a suspected case in Plateau. Can you bring us up to speed as to where we are?
Well, in terms of contact tracing, one, you look at the manifest of the airline, the aircraft that brought that index case. And I think about 157 on board, out of which 54 passengers have been identified. And then the hotel where the Italian lodged in
Lagos or in Ogun State?
In Lagos, about 6. And then the company, that's where he visited, that's Lafarge, about 34. So, and of course, drivers that, drove him and all that, and some other staff, maybe about 5. So put together about 100 cases have been, not cases, contacts have been identified and being followed up through what we call supervised self-isolation, because you cannot put everybody in a ward or under isolation. It's better through this supervised isolation. Supervised isolation, that is, they're asked to stay at home and they're being monitored and visited. And of course, telephone contacts and all that, being contacted. So just to be sure that they're not coming up with any suspicious symptoms. So that is the situation right now. And of course, I'm also aware that some of these passengers that are on that flight, they traveled out of Lagos, some even outside of the country. And the WHO office in those countries where they have been established to travel to, they have been contacted. So the follow-up will also continue from that end.
That's why it's been difficult to trace everyone on the flight?
You cannot, yeah, it's difficult because people came in for different reasons and some left, you know, they left Lagos for some other destinations.
Mm. So what about the case in Plateau?
Well, the case in, well, the suspected, I would say, to the best of my knowledge, is yet to be confirmed. So we're still waiting because the emergency operation centers that have, have been activated all through the states. So we will need to have this collaboration and have information before we can, because this is a critical period where we have to be sure of what we are dishing out there to the people, so that we don't create fear and panic. And that's a very, very important message. We want Nigerians to spread facts and not spread fears. It's very important at this point, so that people don't get unduly hysterical and compound the situation on ground.
Do they have a reasonable level of suspicion, though, in Plateau? Because, yes, we've been told that it's a precautionary measure, but before you quarantine people, you must have a reasonable level of suspicion, for you to do that.
Well, we always talk about a high index of suspicion, particularly when you look at where that person or that candidate is coming from. I mean, if somebody is visiting Nigeria from China at this point, or from Italy, and from any of these Asian countries that have high risk, then you just want to be careful, or you want to raise your suspicion level, but it shouldn't be such that will create undue panic. Because you need that high index of suspicion. The person may not manifest any symptoms, but the travel history may be suggestive, or may warrant that suspicion, as for one to be extremely careful in terms of how you attend to such.
Are you in touch with the Plateau State government?
Well, we are because the National Emergency Operation Center, is the highest level of coordination. So we interact and collaborate with the various states where we have any issues.
So for how long are the beg your pardon, I don't want to call them victims now, the contact cases in Lagos, for how long are they going to be in supervised self-quarantine?
For about 14 days, because we believe, that if there is going to be any manifestation of symptoms, one way or the other, the cough, sneezing, lethargy, fever, and all that, we believe that usually within the first 14 days, this should show up, and then we then go on to do proper testing in terms of diagnosis.
Okay, so testing hasn't been carried out on them yet.
No, you don't. You don't just go ahead, because one, the reagents available, of course, we need to be prudent in the management, because if we just make it a mass thing, mass testing, then we may run short of these reagents, and when we then have critical cases, it becomes difficult to have these things available to us.
So the action right now is to monitor?
Yes, monitor.
To see how they're doing, and then if they develop any symptoms,
exactly,
then they will be taken in for testing.
Exactly. You see, because part of the information we are putting out there is for people to know that for very, very large percentage of people, they will not come down with COVID-19, because COVID-19 belongs to the same class of, it is a common cold. It's also coronavirus, but this is COVID-19 because it's new, it's novel. Because we are still studying, research is still going on regarding the behavior and all that. But most people will not come down with it at all. That's the truth. And that is the critical. The number of people, that succumb to even malaria, to cancer, the number is far, far, far outweighs the number of people that come down with COVID-19. And it's also important to say that even those that have succumbed, usually they are very elderly people, maybe in 70s and 80s, and then those with existing disease conditions, and particularly such that will have compromised their immunity.
Well, I'm just wondering, you have said that what we should spread is facts,
And not
fear.
Yeah.
But sadly, a day before the coronavirus was said to have been discovered and confirmed in Nigeria, on the floor of the Senate, we had a senator who wasn't very confident of Nigeria's preparedness to handle this disease. And for a lot of Nigerians, that is still a point of concern. What they would like is confidence in the ability of the authorities to be able to handle the disease should it come into the country.
Yeah.
Sadly, it is here with us, and so far so good. It is being handled. However, would you like to address some of the concerns raised by Senator Boniface on the floor of the Senate on Thursday?
Well, you see, people raise concerns by and large based on their own personal experiences, but not necessarily the real situation. You see, if you saw something circulating on the social media in the last 2 days, the account of another senator as well, Senator Ojudu, commending the efforts put in place because he traveled and he said the kind of thing he saw on ground when he arrived in Nigeria, he didn't even see them in I don't want to mention the 2 countries that he passed through before coming to get into Nigeria. So it's a matter of individual experiences. And then again, don't forget, yes, occasionally you may have some gaps, which you not necessarily have a perfect system, but you continue to strengthen what you have on ground and improve based on the situation. For example, initially what we had was the form given to each passenger to fill, showing the travel histories, database of that, where the person is coming from, where any symptoms, stated, cough, sneezing, all that stated, the address here in Nigeria, on whether that person is on any medications and all that. All this, and then it's just a form, and then they fill and submit. But we discovered along the line that the tendency for some people to want to short-circuit that system. So what we then did was to design the form and then have a slip that you can tear up. So that once you have filled the form and then it's going to be stamped. So before you exit, you have to produce the portion that you tear up. That's evidence that, yes, you really submitted that form. Because it's possible that somebody might fill a form and yet not submit. So to block that, that wasn't allowed. So I will wish that you read that another senator.
Oh, I have seen another testimony by another prominent Nigerian on Twitter, on social media, expressing a lot of confidence in terms of what Nigerian authorities are doing. However, there are those who still believe that perhaps there is a standard way of, putting the virus in check. There are those who believe that we should have alcohol sprays for flights coming into Nigeria from certain destination.
No.
I don't know if you've seen those videos on social media. They're making the rounds.
This is why I talked about, spreading facts or not. That is not even acceptable. It's not acceptable because spraying alcohol on people, no, it's not acceptable to us because it's not within the ambit of the protocol that even the WHO, which is the highest body in terms of issuing regulations on health, is comfortable with. So the bulk of what we are doing is in tandem with the directives and the protocol of the World Health Organization. And of course, the issue of, you have sanitized alcohol-based sanitizing gel available at the various points at the airport, which is which people are, availing themselves of. And of course, we talk about this hand washing with soap and water regularly. And it's very important that people keep to all these things. You see, the issues of personal hygiene and what we call respiratory hygiene. It is not proper for someone who has cough, who is sneezing, to just, do it out there without, carrying a handkerchief to cover up. Or if it's tissue, when you blow your nose and you dispose of that immediately and you do the hand. These are the critical things that we need to push out to people. And if you see, the issue of hand washing is the most critical as far as I'm concerned. Done regularly too, because you can touch so many things. The handle of a door, or the car you want to. These are various contact points that you never know what is deposited on that.
Okay, let's go to Lagos now and take questions from my colleagues. Gentlemen.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mark. Well, Honorable Minister, I'd like to know, because before this, unfortunately, this case in Nigeria, what we had at the airport, we had the port service officials with this gun-like temperature monitor checking individuals as they come through. But now that we do have that case recorded in the country, has anything changed in the way we monitor people at the port entry? Did you hear me, Honorable Minister? I'm saying, has anything changed in the way we were monitoring those who were coming into the country now that we have this case recorded in the country?
Was talking about the monitoring at the airport, the temperature that is being taken with the gun-like equipment.
Yes.
I didn't quite get the question myself, but I'm wondering if you could quickly repeat the question, Chamberlain.
I'm not hearing anything here at all.
Well, those port entry services monitoring individually with that gun-like equipment. But ever since we recorded this case, have we changed our approach? Are we going to change our approach in the way we monitor those who are coming into the country?
Did you catch it? He wants to know if we're going to change our approach in terms of how we monitor those who are coming into the country.
Well, if we discover or establish any lapses, or that will be looked into. But for now, we have not really. What we have done is to make these forms available to the various airlines so that the forms are filled right in the aircraft before landing, so that when they land, we then collect and it's easier to monitor rather than...
So what you're saying is that nothing is going to change in terms of how we were doing things before coronavirus came into Nigeria, and how we're currently doing it now that we know that, the chances of the disease even coming in again, it could be higher.
Well, I think it's just, no, we cannot say nothing was good. But that's why I said if there are lapses that we have observed, those are the things that we will look into.
Was
and
there
then
a lapse observed?
The vigilance will also increase. The vigilance will increase because if, as at the point of, disembarking, and you already have forms available, it's easier to easily go through these forms, and if you have reasons to suspect in terms of travel history of a particular passenger, then you're going to set apart such passenger for further questioning.
Honorable Minister, let me just bring this in as well. Speaking about comparing notes with some of the countries who have cases recorded and what are they doing so that we can, see what we can do to improve ourselves. Bahrain, for instance, some of them want those who are infected to come in for voluntary testing. Are we, for instance, now that we have this case, do we look to say, well, Italians or Chinese, if you're in the country, you have to come in for voluntary testing? Should we consider that, and do we have the personnel to handle that, should we consider it?
We have personnel on ground that can do what we want them to do as dictated by the circumstance. But we don't just want to say because they are doing this there, they're doing that, we also want to do it. No, it depends on how we look at the realities on ground in our own situation.
One thing, is there a justification for the hike we're seeing in hand sanitizers, for example, or face masks? Because people are complaining. In fact, a lot of people don't see them in stores anymore. So on one hand, is there a justification for hiking the prices 200%, 300%? And what is the ministry doing to ensure that people don't exploit others who want to purchase, these items?
Well, that's primarily the job of the Consumer Protection, agency to look at that. But again, it's important. You see, the face mask that people are struggling to buy and all that, I tell you, it's not very necessary. Where you don't have a candidate, so to speak, I won't say a patient now, that is not manifesting symptoms, sneezing, because what the face mask is really meant for a person who is sneezing, coughing, and wanting to protect others around him or her, from catching this, the stuff coming out from sneezing and coughing. That's what the face mask is for. And for people who are in care giving centers or so the caregivers, these are people that need face masks. Face mask is not, people should not allow themselves to be exploited unduly. People rushing to buy face masks is totally unnecessary. It's totally unnecessary. You don't need face masks routinely to just use as people are making it. This is the kind of thing that we're talking about, that we need to spread facts and not fears. It's not necessary. So if the people are hiking, I'm not saying it's right, but I think that is within the purview of the Consumer Protection to look at. Once you can, once you can just do your hand washing, because I also understand that even the sanitizing, the alcohol-based sanitizing gel, people are hiking and all that. But you don't allow these people to exploit you. You can do with your hand washing with soap and water, under running water, very, very regularly. That is as good, But if you have access to sanitizing gel that is alcohol-based, it's also good. But face mask, people rushing to it, is not necessary at all.
People are concerned about the different levels of preparedness of the states. Are you also monitoring what is going on in terms of the preparation of state governments and their ministries for health?
Yes, we are. Unexpectedly, the preparedness level of the states won't be the same for obvious reasons, because you have some resources that will go into this, resources in terms of finances, resources in terms of personnel, resources in terms of facilities and all that. So expectedly there will be different levels, and even for the countries.
But are you insisting on a basic minimum that states must put in place?
Yes, we try to do that, and that's why we have the national, the emergency, operation center at the national level that is looking at this and coordinating activities. But of course, we have always believed, or we have taken the position that if there's going to be importation, most likely it will be at the airport, point of entry. And the major ones, as we have them, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kano. So we are not saying that you cannot have importation from some other entry points, even at the border, the land border posts, or sea and what have you. But we are saying that the most likely thing, because if somebody is to come by, by sea from any of these countries, from Asian countries, it's probably to have 2 weeks. In which case, the person before getting to this will have manifested
The symptoms.
So,
well, we have to thank you for sharing your time and your thoughts with us this morning, and I hope you know that we're going to be constantly disturbing you until this disease is finally over. But we have to thank you for coming on this morning.
Markway, thank you very much for inviting me. Well, that's why we're there.
Yeah. Dr. Lauren Mbemamora is the Minister of State for Health. Sunrise Daily continues in a moment. Please stay with us.